Have you ever had a full biomechanical analysis of your running, your gait, where a 3D image capture software has taken you running, your force production, your movement patterns, your vertical oscillation, your stride length and economy, all in one platform, and then marrying that up with the correct footwear? And if your foot needs a little bit of help inside the shoe, while you wait, you get a molded foot insole. Yes, if you're interested, Dan's journey continues. This is episode 4. Tune in. We visited Profeet Limited in London, the run biomechanics store, for probably the best service you could get certainly in the UK and in Europe. They've been going since the early 2000s, so tune in for that. We're going to cover some of the visuals, what we learned from there, the foot insoles, footwear choice that we ended up with. I'm going to show you some swim, bike and run examples for training, how things have been going in the last 4 to 6 weeks, what block we're in, why we're doing what we're doing from the previous episode 2 with the bike lab tests and episode 3 with the run lab tests in Leeds. So it's starting to take shape. It's still early season. And then finally, what we're looking forward to towards the end of March, where we're going to meet up and do some slightly different, exciting training. So hang in for the next few minutes and hopefully you're interested in what is coming. Moving on to what we got up to at Profeet. There's various levels that one can do. If you've been there before, you'll probably be familiar with it. You can just get a really quick in and out video analysis of your shoes to make sure you're in the right shoe. They do all the brands that they trust and they get the right shoe on your foot. Then there's different layers. After that, most people go in with some problems. Generally your classic knee pain, calf issues, or general just discomfort because every foot is slightly different and shoes are obviously mass produced. They don't custom make the shoes. But they use a molding technique that is not podiatry, so medical. It uses the natural arch in the foot, what's called the windlass mechanism, by standing on some footbeds that are then molded to your foot shape with load. You create your natural arch by lifting up your toes. Some people have limited range. That's called the windlass mechanism, as I mentioned. So that with a nice insole molded to the shape of that, which takes about 10 minutes to cool down, that gets trimmed to the right function shoe, a neutral shoe, or sometimes you need a slightly more supportive shoe. That's the full Monty, and that's what we wanted to go for. So over the last few years, they've developed their software like most companies. They've got a 3D motion analysis capture. So this is what we did with Dan, running at 2 different speeds. So quite a slow speed. He's sort of around his LT1, around 5 minutes a K. And of course, stride length is looked at. That's measured by the camera. Vertical oscillation, so how much he was bouncing up and down. So not gaining forward momentum with vertical oscillation. So looking at his forward lean or lack of. More importantly, the heel kick back in that cyclical motion that we should be doing. So knee bend, hip extension, and hamstring activation, folding at the knee and driving through, landing hopefully around the midfoot. So it highlighted the cadence, it highlighted the stride length and the slight differences in left to right. So there was definitely a left to right difference, but we found that out in his static testing with the physio and the strength therapist, which you would have seen in the second episode we did. That's fine. We all got some asymmetry, but what was quite evident was the up and down motion, certainly at that speed. So we did another video of faster speed, 13.5 k's an hour. Cadence picked up a little bit. Vertical oscillation actually went up. So we knew that we were wasting energy there, but we had some figures, some data to back that up. So it's one thing looking at a runner. So we spent about 15 minutes, 20 minutes doing that, which is great. And it produced some reports, which we can obviously compare down the line. The software can then pull in some of the old data and compare if we've improved the cyclical motion of the run stride. The cadence has gone up. It also gives a score on economy. It's not to be confused with the gas economy that you actually get of your engine, which is the economy we like. This is just an economy score on force production energy. Part 2, if you like, is looking at his shoes that he has already. So I thought they were quite soft. So soft being not really supporting the forces that Dan puts through the shoe. He's Feet are slightly different left to right due to a mobility issue in his right big toe, which is really important, your big lever. So that shoe on video, as you can see, does look like it's rolling in quite a bit through the front of the foot. The ons he was running in, on ON, are quite soft. I like them as a brand, as a shoe. They're super comfy. I just don't think they're supporting him right now. We just need a firmer, stable, neutral shoe. We tried some Sauconys and some Brooks in a neutral shoe that fitted his foot shape better. One held his back of the ankle slightly better due to the heel box. So that's the one we went for. In the end, we knew we were going to mold the feet and put something just to guide the foot through the hundreds of miles as the foot gets tired. The idea is just to cover some of the pressure distribution in the shoe, because remember, there's only 3 points of contact really, depending on the arch shape. So that was part 3. You can see how we molded him, heated up some insoles. He stood weight bearing on them, knee bent, and that cooled down over a period of 10 minutes. The mold in the footbeds that Steve did, I was really happy with that. And then it sat really stable once it was pulled out of the molds, which is really important, that we don't have to then fill areas where the big toe maybe is dropping too much and it's not getting a nice rocker. So we might have to help that plantar flexion of the first ray. And we settled on that Saucony shoe and then a nice race shoe, which was obviously a carbon shoe. We had a pair of Asics before. You can see the video here. All right, Dan, so we've got running shoes on you. We've got new insoles, which we saw being molded. This is a total new thing for you. You've run on the treadmill there. Short run.
Yeah, trying out a few different shoes.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like these. Really,
the whole process. What have you got on there, Sauconys?
Yeah, I really like the shoes. Really supportive. They're suited for me. And yeah, they've got the insoles in, custom molded for me, and they feel a little weird right now, but it's going to be a bit of getting used to. But it'll be really supportive and help me with my running. The whole process has been really good. I've learned so much already, and I'm going to dig through all the data that we get and have another read through that, and hopefully make all these small improvements I can make. I'm gonna change the way I run. So
it wasn't terrible. They're quite old, so we decided to get a pair of Brooks Hyperion, which I actually run in or race in. So it was the newer version, and that will just be raced without the insole. It's quite a narrow base of sport, so quite a narrow last. We don't want to rip the material. We're not going to do a hell of a lot of running in there. A little bit of speed work sprinkled in, some park runs, and then the idea is to build up to the marathon in an Ironman, which really helps triathletes, by the way, a carbon shoe, because of the rocker effect. We have tight quads. We know it's quite a lot faster. All the world records have been broken, so that's a given. However, with Ironman triathletes specifically, now you must remember they're neutral shoes. What I see happening with most triathletes, and within a race, there's a lot of turned out feet and rolling through these really soft Nikes, because they're the latest shoes. So I urge you to get some video analysis, and you'll be horrified what you look like in barefoot, and even just your running training shoes. And then when you go to these carbon shoes that are about 250 pounds, and the stress through the knee, the fatigue, which obviously at that stage of the day, 7 hours in to an Ironman, when you start your marathon, it really takes its toll. So it's worth considering. And you don't have to go to Profeet. You can go to somewhere that has experienced people by a mechanical background, ideally, that can just watch you from behind and slow down some video. So all in all, it was about a 90-minute appointment, so worth the time and money and the effort to travel down to London. That's one of the best places, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, certainly in Europe. And the original founder, the late Hamish Wolfenden, who trained me back in the day in 2005, all my biomechanical background, I was working there probably for 7 years myself. So I still represent them, still an ambassador, and I highly, highly recommend them. I think Prince William goes for his ski boots still. So they are the best in the business. All right, so some training updates, because people are interested in, since we've done the lab testing, the bike, and then the run, kind of how the training has then been prescribed based on that. We know we want to do an Ironman this year in August, which is flat in Estonia, mainly as a test to see how the year's gone, not to try and qualify straight out of the bat off that race. That's not the goal. Dan's done 4 Ironmans. We want to just go and apply some really good fueling strategies and see how he copes over 10, 11 hours of racing on a flat course with a new bike fit, stronger breathing, etc., etc. So it was quite technically based in February with the swim, which you can overdo drills, in my view, and quite a lot of experienced coaches, if you just keep doing drill work, you won't actually build a huge amount of fitness, but they have their place. There were some fundamentals which you saw in the first couple of episodes of Dan's swimming that really needed addressing. Now moving into March, I've put the drills in the warm-up, and we're focusing on actually just building some good aerobic fitness, and the technique will come. It's work in progress. It's probably going to take this whole year to be really efficient and smooth in the front quadrant of his swim, in terms of, for example, his hand being at the front of the stroke at any given point of both sides, and alignment, so crossing over the midline, and general body position in the water. That will come. So we are working on just building quite a lot longer sets and keeping the warm up with the drills every time to reinforce the kick, the catch, and alignment. So that's the swim. Here's some examples. Moving on to the bike, we decided from the bike test we've got some time, so I wanted to build up his ability to tolerate more training in about 6 weeks. So instead of going straight into a VO2 max block, which he needs, you would have seen in the last video, I wanted to increase his CTL, his chronic training load, if you're using Training Peaks, build his fitness. It was in the 70s. I wanted to get up to 80s, up to 90, as far as I can in about 6 to 8 weeks. By increasing his volume, how do we do that? Give him more hours on the bike, but also more higher aerobic sessions, over gear work, a bit of zone 3, not really anywhere around threshold, and then working long rides around his VT1 160 watts. Okay, so you can spend a lot of time there, but I wanted to get him more tolerance to be able to then train harder when I need to start that block, because we do need to do a VO2 max block. So he's on board, he's enjoying the longer volume on the turbo. We'll be getting outdoors now as we exit March into spring. The weather's been great in the UK, depending when you watch this. And we will just keep evolving that, some cadence drills and working on that bike position, as in flexibility on his road bike. We haven't even gone onto the TT bike yet. That's the biking, so he's spending a bit more of a chunk of that. The running, we're still holding back. We know where his first turn point is. He's also very close to his second turn point. So I'm sprinkling in some 30-second efforts, to maintain some leg speed, also to develop some neuromuscular firing. So either on the flat or slightly uphill, we're going to do some 30-second work. We're introducing some run drills towards the late back end of March. So that's going to help the posterior chain that we found the discrepancies in the run analysis as well, in dynamic flow. So that's the running side. The strength within 6 weeks, you should be able to build load and progress the exercise. That's just the human body. So that's he's absolutely getting on with himself, and that's doing great. So all in all, swim, bike, runs evolved to around 14 to 15 hours. Per week. I probably won't give him any more. He does a full-time job and he would love to do more training, but actually I'm throwing in the odd rest day. He has done a little bit of hiking and some social bits in March, which is really important. And we're going to meet up at the end of March. April's going to be head down. The weather's going to get better. And there's a half Ironman in Bolton, UK at the beginning of June, 7th and 8th. So we'll be recording that and just applying some of the new fueling strategies, and hopefully just executing on a nice hilly course a great performance. That's all we're after. Great performance, test the swim, test the bike, make some mistakes, really make a lot of mistakes, pace the run really well and finish strong, and then sit down after and learn from it. And we'll obviously go through that in June. There we have it, a nice comprehensive, proper run analysis that I have trusted since 2005. I've been part of their team, Profeet in London. Thorough, not brand biased. They test shoes, they get them on the right feet. They know feet really well. It originated from ski boot fitting, and that's evolved over the years as alongside the running. and you're in safe hands. So I still make use of them 20 years later. Coming up at the end of March, as I mentioned, we're gonna go a little bit off-road for some variation to get out of the indoor trainer, a bit of mountain biking, which is new for this athlete, and that will be in the local forest near his house. We're probably also gonna do a local 5K, a little bit of speed work, and see how we are in a park run, with some R&R included in that afterwards, some sauna, some heat work. And we will also get onto some soft grass and do some run drills, introduce some actual specific rewiring of the body, which is important. You can't just run, because one of the areas we have to work on, as we saw in the run analysis in a few slides ago, was the posterior chain, the pickup, the heel lift. We've got to retrain the body to fire up the years of probably slower running, ultra running, long distance, and the marathons he's done. The cadence needs some work, the firing up of the posterior chain, the hamstrings, the spring, the bending at the knee. And alongside the physio work and the strength conditioning, where we're looking at getting more hip extension, more range around the hip where the leg goes behind you, that's what hip extension is. That'll all marry in with some nice upper body rotation as the obliques get stronger as well, and the upper body can relax and the breathing is properly implemented. So I'm looking forward to that. Some one-to-one is always my favorite. So tune in for the next episode and we will show you what we got up to. I really appreciate you following these episodes. Please subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. It keeps it going.